We grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area. I already told you that. My parents had a V-Dub. Remember that Volkswagen hippie bus, split window business, right? But they drove one of those because that's, you know, what you did. But no middle seat. My dad built a bed. We were that classy family, right? No seat belts, no car seats. Who remembers the 70s? But we were just get in the car and go. We were already driving. Now you're like buckling them in and do the 9-point safety check for crying out loud. Anyway, so I know I get in so much trouble when I say that. But anyway, so we'd be in the car, and if you have siblings, how many of you have siblings? Come on. And you get in the car, and usually you'd beat the daylights out of whoever was next to you. That's just what you just kind of started this nonsense. And every parent has their way of de-escalating that. You know, some of you still look in the mirror. You got the mom look and some of you still do the random reach behind smack. I still see that. The kids are like dodging it, like. My parents didn't do that. They would actually let this go. I mean, there's 5 of us. They'd let it go for a little bit. And then my mom would be like, okay, that's enough. That's enough. And in order to bring it back down, that's what we did. We would sing, we'd start to sing, but we had a big scouting family, so we did a lot of, you know, campfire songs and hiking songs and skits, things like that. If my dad was in the car, we only sang Led Zeppelin. Because all he was like, once we do Stairway to Heaven, he's like, that's all I got for you, man. Thanks. Anyway, my brother Tom, next one down, we would make up a game in the car we called it Jukebox. And the jukebox went like this. I would open my mouth, and my brother would pretend to throw the money in. And then he got to pick the song, and what did I have to do? Sing it. So this would go back and forth. We'll play jukebox, okay, blah, blah, blah. And then, but my brother, he was so goofy. When it was his turn, I'd put the money in, and then I'd pick a song, random, row, row, row your boat. And he would go like this, he'd go, row, row, row your boat, 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 boat. See, some of you know what I'm talking about. Some of you have no idea what I'm talking about. We used to have records, right? Remember these round, flat musical discs? And occasionally they would skip. The needle would get right and you had to smack it. Remember to get it through that skipping point. So you like lost half of you. They're like, I don't even know what you're talking about. What's a record? It's the biggest CD I've ever seen. Records are funny, man. Remember we had 45s and that little yellow thing you had to put in the middle. Remember all that? One time a lady told me she was an older, new family child care provider, but her licensing worker was younger. Okay, that's important. She was going through with her final walkthrough, right, in order to finally get licensed. Provider says to licensor, I keep my 45 collection in the basement. Do you see why this caused some trouble? The licensor was like, oh my God, you can't do that! And she's like, I've had it forever, it's fine. You know, and they're like missing each other here. She was talking about, of course, her record collection, but she didn't even know what that meant. We were talking about records one time, and remember you had to put it on the edge, and then it would get to the end, and it did that like, right? Unless you were rich, and then it went up all by itself, and then you had to turn it over. And I was at a group, I was out with some people, and I talked about turning it over, and I'm not even kidding. Like 3 of the people were like. And I don't usually call people out like that, but I'm like, what is it? They're like, turn it over? I'm like, oh, shut up, are you serious? They had no idea. They had no idea. But does that surprise you? No. Because what's a record? You had to turn it over? And then it continued. We had to work for our music, young people. You don't even know. Save our allowance. We had to buy the whole record for one song, man. Crazy. So I have a first grade teacher friend up in Phoenix. She brought in tape recorders. Remember that bit of business? Fast forward, rewind, pause, play, all that. So her kids were used to having the tape recorder in there, that kind of technology. So then she brought in her record player with her 45 collection, right? And so the kids, she set it up next to it, and she said, and of course, then one day, the children were making the record go backwards. Remember when we used to do that? Then so, meow, meow, calmly to the air, she says,